Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Michelle Morris. I'm from Consolidated Planning Group, and I am so excited that you're here with me today. I really appreciate that some of you have been to many of our webinars. Some of you are joining us for the first time, and I am just so thankful that you're here with us today. It is always my goal to teach you at least one or two little tricks or tips. Today, we're going to be talking about the waiver programs. So it is a very important topic. We record all of our webinars, and later on today, you should receive an email at whatever email address that you registered with. And in that email, you will receive, of course, contact information for Consolidated Planning Group. You're going to get a link to this webinar, which will be on our YouTube channel. And you should also be receiving the slides. So as you're going through those slides later on, any links will be clickable. And if they are not clickable or if they go to the wrong place, please just let me know, because I take a lot of time to put together these slides. And if something's not working correctly, I would like the chance to be able to fix that. So I cannot hear you or see you because we're in webinar mode. But I do really appreciate it if you would put any questions or comments, and I'm seeing all the hellos and yes, we're here's in the chat box. I love that. It helps me be able to see your questions and comments while I'm delivering the slides. So please keep putting this stuff in the chat box, and I will keep an eye there for your questions and comments. So I think that should be it for about today. That should be about it for today. And we'll get going. So the first thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is, who is Consolidated Planning Group? Why should you even be here listening to me in the first place? Wow. We are a holistic special needs financial planning firm. We've been in the financial services industry for 30 years, and we do things like life insurance, investments, securities, financial planning, retirement planning, all of that kind of stuff. But we do this through the lens of understanding that your child might need help for the rest of their lives. They might not be able to work and have a full-time job. They might not be able to be completely independent, and they might need your help and ongoing support throughout the rest of their lives. So how can you plan for not only your own retirement, but also for taking care of your loved one? We are fully licensed in insurance and securities. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. We are nationally certified Social Security advisors, and I am a chartered special needs consultant through the College of American Financial Services. So we really take this very, very seriously. The owner of our company has 2 kids with disabilities, and that's why we really have focused our entire company on this. It's not something that we do in addition or once in a while or on the side. This is our main focus, is helping families with special needs planning. If you have an individual in your life who has a disability, you are definitely in the right place, because there are over 263,000 financial advisors across the United States. And out of those 263,000 financial advisors, fewer than 200 focus on special needs planning. That's less than 0.1% of all the financial advisors in the United States who have turned their businesses to focus on helping families who have a loved one with any kind of intellectual or developmental disability. So we are truly here for you to help you with lifetime protection plans and thinking about lifetime care expenses for your loved ones. We help with transition planning. There are 3 huge transitions coming up in your children's lives, that point where they turn 18 and all of a sudden they are seen as adults in the eyes of the law. That time when they graduate from high school and you need to figure out what comes next besides sending them to high school every day. And then the other transition period that is very, very important to plan for is that time when your child is going to be moving out of your house into their next residential living situation, whatever that might look like. And it varies. It varies a lot in our families. So we can help you with those things. We help with ABLE accounts. And really, we are here to educate you and to advocate for you. So today, we're really going to be focusing in on those Medicaid waiver programs, SSI eligibility, and preserving the benefits that your child deserves so that those benefits, the state and federal benefits, can help pay for their future care. Now, we at Consolidated Planning Group are located in Houston, Texas, and many of our clients are here in the state of Texas. We work all across Texas, but we also work all across the United States. So if you are visiting us today from a different state, please don't fear. The waiver programs are specific to Texas, but we're also going to be talking about some things that apply to everybody across the United States. So please don't run away when we start talking about the waiver programs for Texas. I see in the chat box that there is one participant who would like for me to speak about child support. I will definitely be talking about that in a little bit, Lori, so don't let me forget. Okay, so these are some of the Medicaid home and community-based waivers here in the state of Texas. We focus kind of on these 8 because out of I think there's 109 different waiver programs, but these are the ones that really focus on the special needs community. So we like to talk about CLASS, which is Community Living Assistance and Support Services. DBMD is deaf, blind, with multiple disabilities. That means that your child has to be both deaf and blind, or have a condition that is going to lead to complete deafness and blindness. But not only that, they have to be deaf and blind and have another disability. So the waiting list for DBMD is usually pretty short because it serves just a small portion of the population. HCS stands for Home and Community-Based Services. We have Texas Home Living, Medically Dependent Children's Program, which is abbreviated MDCP, the Star Plus waiver, which is the adult version of MDCP. There's Youth Empowerment Services and Community First Choice, CFC. So those are the ones we're going to really focus in on today and talk about. So the next pages have some descriptions of what these different waiver programs are meant to do, who they are meant to serve. So looking at community living assistance and support services, that's the CLASS waiver. Now this is going to give supports to children and adults with related conditions. Now, what they mean by related conditions, there are over 200 different conditions that count that they will help you and give you support. Things like cerebral palsy, spina bifida, IDD, intellectual developmental disabilities, things like that. The condition, whatever diagnosis it is, you have to have proof that it started before your loved one turned age 22. So when you're looking at the CLASS waiver, and as we go through these listings of different kinds of waivers, think about, wow, this CLASS waiver serves any adult or child with any of these 200 different related conditions, it serves a very, very large group of people. And so therefore, you will know that the wait list for class is very, very long. Here in Texas, we're being told that the waiting list now is about 20 to 25 years. So when I started in this industry about 4 years ago, we were quoting 15 to 17 years. And now we've been told it's more like 20 to 25 years. I see Ruth in the chat box says that her son waited 15 years. But the thing is that you need to sign up on the wait list anyway. Don't be discouraged by these long wait times, because even if your child does not qualify for one of these waiver programs for like 20 or 25 years, it will still be hugely beneficial for them. So don't get discouraged and say, oh, I'm not even going to sign up, forget it. No, it's still going to be very helpful for your children. Okay, so make sure, and we're going to talk about how to get your children on the waiting lists. So again, DBMD, I talked about that a little bit. This is for deaf, blind, and another disability. HCS gives services and support to children and adults with an intellectual disability or a related condition. Again, a very, very large chunk of people qualify for HCS services. They can live in their own home or in a small group home that has no more than four people. Now, we typically say that the HCS waiver is kind of one of the better ones. They've got really deep pockets and they can help you pay for housing, which is really great. The wait list is quite long. Some people qualify for another, but then they stay on the HCS wait list so that they can eventually get that one. It's up to you what you want to do, but we'll talk about the benefits of that later. And then there's MDCP. MDCP is for children and adults who are 20 years and younger, and they have to be medically fragile. Okay, you might qualify for MDCP pretty quick because you have to have that medical fragility. But then maybe they'll find out that, oh, your son or daughter doesn't quite fit that standard, so maybe you don't qualify for that one. Even though in your mind they should, well, not everybody does. So the waiting list for MDCP is quite a bit shorter. So there's a question, a great question from Michael in the chat box. Hi, Michael. When you get one of these waiver programs, when your name comes up on the list, you are also going to be qualified for Medicaid if you're not already. You do not have to already have Medicaid to get a waiver program. It comes with it. So like, let's say you're waiting your 20 years for class, you finally get the class waiver. If you don't already have Medicaid, they will give it to you. Now you do have to make sure that you're eligible for Medicaid in order to get these waiver programs. So when we talk about SSI benefits, there are asset and income limits. And when we talk about Medicaid, there are asset and income limits. And they're a little bit different. You can make a little bit more money and still get Medicaid, but be disqualified for SSI because you're over the income limit. But both of them, whether it be SSI benefits or waiver programs here in Texas, you still have to keep your assets very, very low, less than $2,000 in the bank. You can have money in an ABLE account or a special needs trust. And we are going to talk about that a little bit more in a few more slides. Another thing I want to make clear is that while we have these very long wait lists here in Texas, in many states, there is no wait list, or there's a much shorter wait list. And I'm not making any opinion statement about this fact that I'm going to share with you. I'm not being political. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but I will tell you that the states that have legalized marijuana typically are using the tax income, the tax revenues from the sales to pay for these types of programs. So if you move to a state where marijuana has been legalized, many of those states don't have waiting periods for these programs at all. You can move to Colorado, for example, and pretty much just get your waiver right away, or have a very short wait. Anyway, so Star Plus, and Mary, I see your question. I'm going to read it and I'll get to you in 1 second. Star Plus is like when you're a medically dependent child, and that program only serves you till you turn 21. Then when you turn 21, you would switch from MDCP to Star Plus. So Star Plus is for medically dependent people who are over age 21. And it really, these waiver programs are intended to help keep people out of nursing home facilities and state-run care and keeping them in their own homes or in small group homes or things like that. So you can get on the list for Star Plus when you're 21 years old, and the list isn't very long. There's Texas Home Living, another big one. There's, yes, Youth Empowerment Services. Now, Youth Empowerment Services is made for or meant for children under the age of 19. And your primary diagnosis has to be something mental, emotional, or behavioral. It's not like, oh, my primary diagnosis is cerebral palsy, but I also have mental difficulties. No, this, yes, is for where the mental issue is your main diagnosis. And then there's Community First Choice. Community First Choice is a program that's a little bit different. It's an entitlement for people who already have Medicaid and have disabilities. And so they provide hands-on assistance, supervision, nursing hours, a lot of things like that through a managed care organization. And the list is not very long for Community First Choice. Okay, so those are the programs that we're really going to focus on today. And let me just make sure I have all of these questions in the chat box answered. So I've got, we're still going to get to child support. 15-year wait for Ruth for her son for class. Get on the list ASAP. That's so true. We talked about the fact that you need to keep yourself qualified for Medicaid, but you don't have to be on Medicaid before you get the waivers. Okay, what protections are there for military families that have to relocate for the military who are on wait lists? Is there any reciprocity, thank you, through different states for the military, or do they have to start over? Yeah, Mary, that really stinks. I haven't put that into perspective, but it's true. If you move to Texas, you're going to have to get on the waiver waiting list in Texas. And then you move to a different state after you've waited 20 years in Texas and you lose that weight and you start over. I'm really sorry, but I don't think there's any reciprocal agreements in that situation. Yeah, you just need to be careful, I guess, of making sure you get on the list right away. I know you probably don't have much choice in where you move, where they put you, where they station you. But yeah, you just need to make sure you look into that as soon as you get to whatever new state. Nicole says, so if you're on MDCP and you also receive Community First Choice respite hours, do you lose MDCP? Can you stay? So you can only, the crux of this question is that you can only have one waiver program at a time. So if you're on MDCP and you switch over to community first choice, you're going to lose MDCP. I'm pretty sure you have to be just on one at a time. You can't get multiple programs all at once. We're going to talk about okay, yes, we're going to talk to some more of these things. One waiver program at a time, people. Okay, so when you do receive the waiver programs, they're going to help you pay for these kinds of things. Adaptive aids, financial management services. That's us. That's us. You can help pay for us with your waivers. They can help with supported employment and employment assistance. They can help you pay for minor home modifications. Now, for those home modifications, they will give you $7,500 for minor home modifications. They will give that to you one time. So if you're in a rental home or you're not in your forever home, think about that. If you're planning to move, they're not going to help you with that at your next home, at every home you live in. They're just going to do that for you once. So make sure that you're in the home that you want to be in. Okay. They can help you pay for respite care. All of the waivers except for MDCP, because these things come in children's Medicaid already, but all of the waivers will also help you pay for therapies, any kinds of therapies. There's music therapy, art, equine, which is horses, recreational therapy, occupational, speech, all of those things. They'll help you pay for prescriptions, dental care. Most of the time it's $2,000 per year for the dental care that they'll give you. And they can even provide nursing hours as well. Some of them, not all of them, but some will help pay for transportation, residential services, day programs, and ISS, which is they used to call it DayHab, now they call it ISS, Individualized Socialization Services, or something like that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the eligibility for these different waiver programs, because I did see that question in the chat box. So we've talked about the age limits for some of the programs. Almost all of them, age doesn't matter, except for MDCP, where you have to be 20 years and younger. Yes is for 19 years and younger, and Star Plus is 21 and above. Okay, so those are the only age limits. Let's talk about financial eligibility. So for all of the waivers except Texas Home Living, I saw something about that in the chat box. For all of the waivers, you have to be income-wise within 300% of the maximum SSI benefit. So this year in 2024, the maximum SSI benefit is still $943. So 3 times 943 is $2,829. And the waivers do not look at the parent's income. Even if the child is a minor, they don't look at the parent's income. So in 2025, that amount is going to go up a little bit, and that'll be good. But you still do have to meet the asset limit for Medicaid. So you still are not going to be able to have much more than $2,000 in your bank account, or your child's bank account, for them to be able to qualify for these things. You can have money for your child saved in a couple of different places, and UTMA is not the way to go. I just saw that in the chat. And UTMA will count against them when they hit age 21. They can have money in an ABLE account or a special needs trust. And of course, you do have to meet whatever functional criteria is in the waiver program itself. For example, the MDCP, medically dependent. If you don't meet that criteria, you're not going to be able to get that waiver program. Now, they do not check to make sure that you qualify until your name comes up on the list. So I would suggest that you put your children on all the lists that you can. And then when their name comes up in 20 years or whenever that happens, then you can say, oops, my child is not medically dependent. Let's take them off of that list and keep them on the other ones, or whatever the case may be. I did say that MDCP has a much shorter list, and that is true. I was just using that as an example. Okay, so let's take a peek at one or two questions. If you're on, yeah, one waiver at a time. They look at the child's income, not the parents, for waivers. That is correct. We're at the top of the Texas home living waiver, but got rejected by the Medicaid. Can we still get Texas home living? Yes. I hope. It depends. It kind of depends why you got rejected from Medicaid. Does your child have too much income, too much assets? Fix that and then get your waiver, and then you'll get Medicaid. Does an UTMA account affect resource limits specifically for the yes waiver? I don't know. Does an UTMA account affect resource limits for the yes waiver? I would think that, yeah, it would, because really they're not allowed to have more than $2,000. We've always gone with that rule that it has to be in either an ABLE or a special needs trust, and those are SSI rules and Medicaid rules. I believe, yeah. I don't think the UTMA is going to help you. You're going to need to transfer it out of that. You might want to call on the yes waiver, find out who is going to administer that in your area. Call your local intellectual authority, which we're about to talk about, and ask them. And then maybe let me know. I am receiving both MDCP and community first choice respite hours now. Oh, that's fantastic that they're helping you out. Okay. Are Class HCS or Star Plus available to adult children with? Yes, yes. If your child's diagnosis is a mental diagnosis and they were on like the yes waiver, they should, after they turn, after they age out of the yes program, they should still be able to get on a different waiver program. Child support, we're going to talk. Yes, child support is counted as income, and we're going to talk about what to do with your child support. Do you have to have SSI first to access these programs? No, these are totally different. The waivers are statewide. SSI is nationwide. So no, you don't have to have SSI first. You don't have to have Medicaid first. Okay. So I'm going to pause on the questions. Gina, I'm leaving off with you. And we're going to go through a couple more slides and then a couple more questions and back and forth. So there are two pathways to getting your waiver programs. The first is putting yourself on the waiting list, the interest list, some people call it. This is a statewide list. It's first come, first serve. Usually, it is statewide, but some counties can move through quicker. If there are fewer people who need to be served in that county, they can move you through a little bit faster or slower, depending on what county and what lists you're talking about. But that wait, when you could put yourself on that waiting list, could be as long as 15, 17, 20 years, something like that. It's going to be a long time. Now, the other way that you can get a waiver program is to promote independence, is what they call it. So there is a program where if your child is or if your family is in a crisis situation. They call it a crisis diversion spot we're going to talk about. But if you're at the point where you just cannot handle things 1 minute more, and you think that you're really at risk of having to go ahead and put your child into some kind of state-run nursing home or something like that because you just need help and you can't handle it anymore, they will basically push you up to the top of the waiting list for the HCS waiver and get you services immediately. That's a crisis diversion spot. Now, on the other hand, if your loved one is already going into a nursing home or already there, then they have something called PR. It's on another slide, but they're going to do a pre-admission screening and review, residential review, pre-admission screening. If you're going into a nursing home, they should screen you, and if they can give you a waiver instead of going into the facility, then they'll do that. And then there's also resident review, where if you're in a nursing home facility already, they're supposed to be reviewing your cases and seeing if they can go ahead and send you home, send you back out into the community with a waiver that will be able to help you and be able to let you be at home or in your community. That's what that's for. Okay, so how do we get on these waiting lists? Well, there are a couple of different ways. You need to, for MDCP class and DBMD, there's a phone number that you can call. Now, everybody who is on this call, if you have a child with a disability, you need to call this 877 number, okay? Because even if your child does not qualify for MDCP or DBMD, remember that's medically dependent or deafblind and multiple disabilities. Even if they don't qualify for either one of those, your child should still qualify for class. So everybody here wants to make sure that you call that phone number, write it down, 877-438-5658. You will receive these slides later today, so you'll have that number if you don't have a pen handy. Now, for other waiver programs like HCS, Texas Home Living, and Community First Choice, you would need to contact your local intellectual and developmental disability authority. Some people call it your LIDA. Some people call it LIDA. Either way, that's your local authority. Here in Fort Bend, I live in Fort Bend, we have Texana. In Harris County, it's the Harris Center. In San Antonio, I think it's ACOG, or maybe that's Austin. Some places call it MHMR, some places call it Bluebonnet. Whatever your local authority is, you can find it by going to this link, and you'll put in what county you live in, and it will tell you who your local authority is. Now, if your loved one is 21 or older, you can call the STAR Plus waiver at this phone number here, the 877-782-6440. Okay. There's also a website that you can go to now to look and see if your loved one is on the waiting list. You can see which waiting lists they are on. You can sign them up for waiting lists. And it will even tell you, if you're already signed up, where you are on that wait. So these slides are a little bit fuzzy, but you should be able to get the gist. And then after I go through this website, we'll go back to some questions. So you're going to go to yourtexasbenefits.com, yourtexasbenefits.com. And you might either log into an account if you already have it set up, or create an account. When you create the account, create it in your child's name. That way, if you have more than one child with a disability, it'll be easy for you to keep track. Create an account with your child's name and their information. Once you have that account, this red circle is kind of in the wrong place. It should be around where it says Manage. You're going to click the Manage tab once you're logged in, and then you'll see these boxes, and you'll click where it says Interest List Manager. Once you click there on the Interest List Manager, you'll get this page. You'll have your name, your ID number, and when you click View Details, you're going to be able to see something that looks like this. It lists out, oh, you're on Class, HCS, and Texas Home Living. You can use this button to join more interest lists. And you can see down here, it says interested, your number 82,672 out of 85,486 people on the list. In other words, you have a long, long wait still to go, unfortunately. But it does tell you where you are on the lists, and you can gather other information from this website. This website is also where you would go for things like SNAP food benefits, CHIP, children's insurance plans, things like that. yourtexasbenefits.com. So again, for class, MDCP, and DBMD, if you don't see yourself on the list and you want to give them a call, there's the phone number. For HCS, Texas Home Living, Yes, and Community First Choice, you can contact your LIDA. Okay, so I'm going to pause there and get some questions in for you. Wait a minute, do you have to have, oh, we talked about that. Okay, so Gina, I said I was leaving off with your question. Can the person have both an ABLE account and a third-party special needs trust? Yes. You can have an ABLE account, a third-party special needs trust, and a first-party special needs trust. Those are the only places that your loved one with a disability can keep money above $2,000 where it will not impact their SSI benefits or their Medicaid benefits. So if your child or loved one has an IRA or a 401k or an UTMA or UGMA, we need to get money out of those places. If your child has money set aside in a 529 college savings plan, you need to get their money out of that, and you can roll that straight into an ABLE account. So we'll talk about that in a second. When they turn 18, should you have court-ordered child support? Nicole, I said I was going to get to this. You're giving out spoilers. All right, so let's talk about child support. 2 people have asked about this. So if child support is a thing in your life, you are going to want to make sure that that child support is redirected to a first-party special needs trust, or else it will be counted as income to your child starting when they turn 18. So many children who have disabilities get child support beyond age 18, and some indefinitely. So if that child support is going to continue beyond age 18, all of a sudden SSI is going to count that as income, and so is Medicaid, unless you redirect it to a first-party special needs trust. There are 2 different kinds of special needs trust. The child support money, because that money belongs to your child, technically, needs to go to the first party trust. The first party trust is for things like, if, of course, the child support, or if your child works and wants to set aside their own money, they can put it in the first party special needs trust. The first party trust is also good for if there's like a settlement. Maybe your child, the source of your child's disability is a medical issue and you got a settlement from that. You can put that in the first party trust. One thing you need to know about that first party special needs trust is that there is the Medicaid reimbursement clause on that trust. The third party special needs trust is for things like your life insurance or investment accounts or other assets that you purposely leave directly to the trust. You don't leave it to your child. That's the best place because it avoids that Medicaid payback in the third party trust. Okay, but we're going to get deeper into those and I'll answer your questions. And we have many, many other webinars that get deeper into those specifics. Okay. Does Texas Home Living have a financial eligibility? I guess not. But you do still want to be sure that you qualify for Medicaid for other reasons, probably. So you might want to talk to us individually about your situation. For Community First Choice, it says you must have Star Plus. I didn't know that, Kim. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know that you have to have Star Plus. Interesting. I don't know. We'll look into that for you. If you want to send me an email, my email address and my phone number are in the chat box already at the very top. So I can get you that information later. Okay, Connie, we're going to start with your question after I go through a couple more slides. So I talked a little about the crisis diversion spot. This is, like I said, if your family is in a crisis situation and you are to a point where you can barely handle it anymore, you need help, you can call your local authority and they can help you get a crisis diversion waiver. This is for things like myself and my spouse were taking care of our disabled child. Now my spouse has passed away or become disabled. Now I am taking care of both my spouse and my child with disabilities. And I can't do it all. I need help. Or my parents have moved in with my family, and now I have to take care of my parents and my child. Or my spouse and I both lost our jobs. We were doing great, and now we've both lost our jobs. Or my child is deteriorating and they're becoming a threat to themselves or others, or they're threatening to run away. Those are the kinds of crisis situations that they will help you with. When you call to ask for your crisis spot, it's not the time to be brave and to sugarcoat things. That is the time to be honest and let them know that you really need help. Again, we hope you never need that, but each LIDA has a crisis diversion, a special crisis line phone number that you can call. And if they're not being quick enough and helping you enough, you can call the ARC of Texas to ask for additional help as well. You have to stay involved and you might need to be the squeaky wheel on behalf of your child, but we always do that anyway. So it's one more thing we have to do for them. The pre-admission screening and resident review, again, that is for people who are going into or already in nursing home facilities or state-run facilities. They're supposed to be doing that when you are being admitted and then once you are already a resident. How to get started with special needs planning. First of all, it's really, really best to work with an expert. When you're looking at financial planning services, and I had a meeting with a guy who he and his wife were meeting with me because they have a child with a disability and they wanted to know more about our services. So they got our initial consultation, which you are all hopefully also going to get if you haven't already. And we were talking. And at the end of our conversation, after I had described the differences between a traditional financial advisor versus what we do as special needs planners, after I went through that whole slide and talked about all of that, he let me know that he himself is a financial advisor. And he said, you know what, though? You are spot on because there are certain nuances of special needs planning that most financial advisors really don't know about. And if you have a financial advisor, that is great. That is a step in the right direction. But if they don't know all of these little nuances, there's a slight chance that you could do something with your financial advisor that would mess up your special needs planning. So you just want to be careful. You want to work with a qualified special needs financial person like Consolidated Planning Group. And you also want to work with a qualified special needs attorney. And we keep lists. We do not have an attorney on staff. We work with other attorneys. We keep lists that have been vetted by us and by our clients. We don't get any referral fees or any kickbacks or anything like that. We just help you understand who they are. Because again, it might be nice and cheap to have a neighbor who is a lawyer help you with guardianship, but they can also really mess it up for you. So you need qualified experts on your side. Start off by gathering up all of the documents of things that you already have in place. Savings accounts, investment accounts, retirement planning, legal things that you already have. Because just like any GPS, we can't help you get to where you're going unless we know where you currently are. Develop a letter of intent. The letter of intent is a great, it's like a love letter to your family. You're going to write down everything you know about the care and support that your family needs, especially your loved one with a disability, in case you are ever gone from this earth and somebody needs to step in for you to take care of your loved one. You know more about them than anyone else on the planet. So put that knowledge on paper and keep it someplace where people can find it and get to it, so that if your time comes and it's your time to, then whoever comes up behind you can find this document and understand the little things about your family, the little idiosyncrasies about your child that nobody else knows. Put that together. It's really beneficial. And think about your vision of what your future looks like and what you hope your loved one's future is going to look like. There's a lot to think about. So, Connie says her Medicaid was refused due to not getting SSI. My son is on RSDI but never had SSI. Connie, this is something that we talk to a lot of our clients about. And one little nuanced trick that, again, not everybody knows. So generally, in the grand timeline of things, your child gets a diagnosis. That's the beginning of your timeline, whenever that happens. And when your child gets a diagnosis, you want to get them on the waiting list for the waivers as soon as possible. Hopefully that's when they're a child, but whatever. So you're going to put them on the wait list for the waiver programs. When your child turns 18, they should be able to qualify for SSI benefits. They probably won't qualify for those benefits before age 18 because the income and asset limits are so low. And under age 18, they're going to look at the parent's income and assets. As soon as your child turns 18, they're only going to look at your loved one's income and assets. So if your child isn't working, there's no income, they don't hit that income limit, or if they, and they have less than $2,000 in their name, then they should qualify for SSI. When they qualify for SSI, they should get Medicaid. Now, they should be on SSI and Medicaid, ideally, for a few years before the parent turns on their Social Security disability. When the parent, usually in your late 60s, you turn on your Social Security benefits, your retirement benefits, or you as a parent become disabled later in life, you turn on your Social Security for whatever reason. When the parent's Social Security benefits are turned on, your child would switch from SSI to SSDI. After your child is on SSDI benefits for 2 years, then they would be qualified for Medicare, and they'll be dual eligible for both Medicaid and Medicare. Now, if you miss that middle part where you get SSI and Medicaid, you could accidentally lock your child out of Medicaid. There's a chance they could still get Medicaid when they get the waiver. But if you have the option, you really need to not skip that step. So sometimes we see like a minor child's parent died, and that minor child is getting SSDI benefits, and then that minor child turns 18 and the benefit stops, and the parent says, oh, no, 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 my child should still get SSDI because of the disability. And now they're above 18, they have a disability, they should still be getting their SSDI. And they turn on SSDI, and then you wait 2 years, you get Medicare. But if you had taken a year off, which, you know, it can affect you cost-wise, but in exchange, you get Medicaid. It's one of those little itty bitty nuanced tricks that many people don't know. And that's why a company like Consolidated Planning Group really comes in handy, because we want to make sure that you preserve your eligibility for your state and federally funded programs to help pay for the future care for your loved ones. Make sure you have a special needs trust established, because that's where your current assets like life insurance and investments, they're going to go straight into your child's special needs trust when you pass away. And then you want to have that ABLE account set up. So we talked about the 529 college savings plan. That plan can be used for educational expenses for your child. But if you're getting to a point where you think, what if my child does not go to college and they don't need those educational expenses paid for? You can roll that money into a 529A. That's the ABLE account. And then you can use that money for anything at all that your child needs if they have a disability. You can put in $18,000 for 2024, and more money if they're working. You can put in their income. Now for 2025, the number is going to be $19,000. One quick side note, if you want to do an ABLE account and you want us to open that for you, we're putting a deadline of December 12th for us to open new ABLE accounts and get that done for you, because we get to a point at the end of the year where we want to celebrate the holidays with our families too. And we get so bogged down with people trying to hurry up and open an ABLE account before the end of the year. We have to put a limit on it. So our limit is going to be December 12th if you want an ABLE account through Consolidated Planning Group. Let's get some more questions. My mother-in-law is creating a trust for her grandchildren, including my disabled special needs son. So if your mother-in-law wants to set up a trust for your special needs, your son, it has to be a special needs trust for him. The others can have their trusts that are typical, you know, not special needs trust, but your son has to have a special needs trust. Okay, ACOG is the LITA for San Antonio. Thank you. 529 college savings can roll over to that 529 ABLE. It's pretty easy. We can help you with that if you want us to. If it is below 2829, child support is okay since he does not get SSI. Yes, if your child is not getting SSI and that child support is less than the limit for Medicaid, then it's fine. It's fine if that goes to your child instead of into a first party special needs trust. You just need to be careful and play by the rules. And there's another rule, you know, when your child switches over to SSDI from SSI, There's a rule regarding the special needs trust paying for housing. You might have heard that one. If your child is on SSDI, that rule doesn't really apply anymore. Many HCS homes will not take clients until they have SSI because the client will not have anything to pay for room and board and personal things. Yeah, Kimberly, you do have to watch out for that and making sure that all of the rules are being followed. Does the child have to be living under your roof for a crisis diversion? Yeah, pretty much, because that's where they draw the line, is thinking about, can you take care of your child? And if somebody else is already taking care of your child in not under your roof, then I would think that they probably wouldn't give you a crisis diversion spot. Uh, parents having guardianship does not really affect SSI and Medicaid, Sylvia, in any way. That's separate issues. And so what I want to say to all of you is we do offer a completely free consultation. It's over Zoom. We're going to get to how to schedule that. But if you have specific questions and I'm not getting deep into it enough, or you don't feel bold enough to put it in the chat box in front of everybody, just schedule your free consultation with us. I promise we don't bite. We're going to learn a little bit about you and your family, give you the advice that you need, and then we'll talk about what we do and what we charge and give you a short sales pitch. But really, it's the best way for us to help you. We want you to start planning right now. It doesn't matter how old your child is. Now is the best time to start planning for the future, because you can make small incremental changes as the years go by, rather than waiting until they're older. And now you have less time to make this impact that you're going to need. Think about what's going to happen after high school. There are residential options, educational options, residential options, but all of those things, those opportunities for your loved one might have waiting lists. So you want to make sure that you are thinking about it early, so you can get on the waiting list if that's needed. And think really long and hard before you just say that a sibling is going to take care of your loved one. I've met with several siblings over the past couple of weeks who are very frustrated with their parents because the parents did not leave any money or enough money. The parents did not leave any plan or enough planning to take care of their loved one. And now we have this sibling who is taking care of their loved one, or not the loved one's sibling, but the parent's sibling. You know, they're like, well, this is my niece that I'm taking care of, that I kind of took in because the parents didn't really plan well enough. Don't just assume that family is going to pick up your slack. Plan as much as you can, and get it done before you're dead. Please, if you can. Think about these things that we always say to keep on your radar. Let me just skip to, this is our entire team. We have 2 husband and wife partners who make up the financial advisors at Consolidated Planning Group. We have a fantastic staff who will help behind the scenes. And here is the screen that you really need to see as I'm looking over any last questions I can answer. Schedule your consultation. You can call me at 281-407-4087. I'm going to put that in the chat box. I'm going to put my email, mmorris@cpgcares.net, in the chat box. And I want you to reach out to me or to our office if you would like your free consultation. Hi, Tobias. I see you out there. Connie, feel free, either email or call me. I'll get you on my calendar as quickly as possible. We are out of time for today, but I do want to, help all of you. So go ahead and call or email me. I'll get you scheduled. You can meet with me or my husband, Andy, or the owner of our company, Allison. All three of us do these initial consultations. They're over Zoom. You don't have to get a babysitter. You don't have to travel. They usually take between 30 to 45 minutes. We do ask for you to complete a quick questionnaire before this meeting so that we can get to know what we're walking into before we open the Zoom. And of course, the links for our YouTube channel, our Instagram, our podcast, and our Facebook page are all down here for you to click on when you get these slides later on today. Let me look real quick. Can you turn a 529 college into a 529 able before age 18? Yes, you can. Is there a minimum amount needed to open the ABLE account? $250. With a special needs trust, does the money go back to the state if something happens to the child? First party trust, yes, Medicaid can reimburse themselves with that money. Third parties trust, no, Medicaid cannot touch it. If under 18 and receiving SSI, you might need to reapply when they turn 18, but it should continue without issue. Okay, I think that is all that we have time for. There's going to be a link to go to our website to get all the other webinar information. Thank you. I'm a huge help. I love you guys. We will send you these slides. Thank you so much. Have a great day. That's all that I have time for today. I am sorry. We're going to send the slides. We're going to send the link to the recording. And just call me or email if you have specific questions that I didn't get to. Everybody have a great day. Thank you for being here once again. Bye.